In this video we are going to study an HTML page named MonthCalendar.html. And in this page we are using a JavaScript class named English Calendar, and from this class we create a calendar object that can be then used to create a calendar that is shown on the screen. So with this class we are able to create a table element which will be representing the calendar on the screen. And then you will see that how we can use the CSS styling to style the different elements of a table. And in the end we are going to make an experiment in which we derive a subclass from a JavaScript class. So my name is Kari Laitinen, and let's go to see the page then. So the page, as its name says, looks like this. It shows a calendar, and you can find this page when you first go to naturalprogramming.com, and there you have to click the web icon here and you enter this page. And there, through this link, Simple HTML Pages, you can then enter this list, and there you will find the MonthCalendar.html. And when you download it to yourself, you have to download this MonthCalendar.html, and additionally you have to download this file datemethodsmore.js. And you have to put it then in a folder named importables. So for instance, I have this folder here, HTML work, and there I have this month calendar file, and then I have this importables folder, and there I have this date methods more.js. So if you want to run this page locally on your computer, then you have to have these two files placed in the similar way. Okay, and then we could start studying the source code of this page. So I have already it open here in an editor, and well, the source code looks like this. There are the usual things at the beginning, and then there are the style definitions area, and then I have the script area, and here it is very important to know that I have actually two script tags here, or two script elements, and in this I import this file date methods more, which is then located in this importables folder. And with this I'm not going to explain this the content of this file to you in this video, but this file contains methods, additional methods with which you can do interesting operations with the standard JavaScript date objects. So this is very important here, and then I have the normal script element here, and so I will explain this a little bit more later. So there is quite a lot of JavaScript here, and then here is the body, HTML body of the page, and there I have just one div named calendar area, and there I have two divs relatively positioned buttons, and then there is this div for the calendar, and the content for this div will be then created with the JavaScript. But let's take a look at the style definitions first. The style definitions, so I have the calendar area here first, and that has a certain width and some margins so that it will be positioned horizontally in the middle of the screen. And then I have this relatively positioned buttons, and there I'm using this relative positioning, and this means then that these buttons are positioned relative to their normal position. So I have actually here, I do have this page is then printed on paper here. So I have here these two buttons, and they are now inside a div named relatively positioned buttons. So in reality, if I wouldn't have the relative positioning, the buttons would be above the calendar, but when I have this relative positioning and I use this definition here top, so it means that they are positioned 36 pixels downwards from their normal position. And with this text align right, I can put them to the right side of the area. Well, I have then button definition, so there are these two buttons here. These are the two buttons on the page, and I specify their certain width and certain height, certain font size, and then the text color and background color. And then I have this button hover definition. It means that the text color changes to snow when the cursor is over the button, so we can test it. So you can see that the text color changes to white when I'm putting the mouse there. Yes. And then I have the definition for the table. So this calendar is a table. This whole thing except the buttons, they are the table. And so the width of the table will be 100% of the enclosing element, and all the columns of the table, they have the same width. And I'm using monospace font there, and the font size is 1.5 times the normal size of font. And then I have a definition for the caption. So the caption is now this text here. So this is a caption, and well, I have these definitions. This is the color of the text, the font, and alignment and size. And then I do some definitions for the TD and TH elements of the table. So in this table, all these are now the TH elements, and all these are now the TD elements. So text is centered in these elements, and there is some padding, and I specify with these numerical hexadecimal values, I specify the background colors, and you can see that the background color of the th elements is different than the background color of the td elements. And then the comment says here, the following definitions specify that when the mouse cursor is moved over a td element in the table, the text color and the background color will change. However, this will not happen if the ID of the element is weak number. So it means now that when we take a look at this page and I move the mouse cursor there, you will see that the background color changes also here. But if I move it over the weak number, then the background color is not changed. So this effect is now achieved with this definition. And this specifies then that the weak number for the or the TD elements which have the ID weak number, their text color is gray. So you can see here that the text color is different than in the other cells. These can also be called table cells, I think. And then there is one more definition for the current day, and such a TD element that has ID current day that has a background color light green. So today it is the 7th of February, and for that reason the background color is for that cell is now light green. So those are the style definitions for this page, and then we enter the CSS part. The JavaScript part. And then first we have here a definition for a class named English Calendar, and it has a constructor that you can give it two values, the year and a month. And if the year is not, or if it is undefined, so it means that the the calendar was created without giving any parameters. In that case, we do so that we set these values for the year and month. We set so that we create a date object, and this creates the date object for the current date, and from that date object we, with these methods, get full year and get month. We read the year and month values, and we have to add 1 to the month value, because in this class in English Calendar the months are expressed with numbers from 1 to 12, but in the date class of the standard date class of JavaScript, months are expressed with values from 0 to 11. Well, this should have never happen, that given month is undefined, or it can happen, but then this should print a message that bad parameters for English Calendar constructor. And then if both parameters are given, so we just copy these two values to these data fields. So basically this this class has now data fields like year and month, and in addition it has data fields names of months and week description. And these are both arrays of strings. So the names of months, they are initialized here with the English names of months, and the English week description is then initialized with the English week description. So they will be inside a calendar object. There will be 4 different data fields or data members. There's a year, there's the month, there's the names of months, and week description. And then we have some methods here. So there is a get year method, there is a get month method, there is increment month method, and decrement month method. And for instance, the increment month method works so that we first increment the month, and if the month value becomes greater than 12, then we set the month to 1 and we increment the year value. So these methods are used then when because we can use this calendar and use these buttons to advance to the next month or go back to the previous month. So the decrement month method works so that if the month becomes less than 1, then we will decrement the year and set the month to value 12. Well, there are also methods for incrementing the year and decrementing the year. And then we have this method toTable element. So this is very important method in this program. So we could first take a look at how this method works, so that for instance, when this page is loaded, then the method named initialize page is automatically called. And this initialize page method is here, or function is here. And then we create, because and actually the calendar has already been created here. So that this is the public variable calendar to show, and we create a new English calendar here. And then in the initialize page method, we make this calendar as table with this toTable element, and then with this statement we refer to the div that will contain the calendar. So we will refer to that div, and we set the inner HTML of the div as calendar as table. So this method toTable element, it returns HTML code. So it returns HTML code, and we can actually show you how the method works, so that we could add here one more console.log statement here. For instance, I can put it here, and I can print this. I could print to the console window this information or this data that is returned by the toTable element method. So I can do it like this: calendar to show. So this object, it has been created earlier, and so now it should print the thing or the text that is returned by this method. So I will save it Now let's go back to this page, and I will open now this console window, developer tools. Now I have this open here and I reload the page. And now you can see what is returned by this toTableElement method. So you can see that it returns a table element that starts with the table tag and ends with a table ending tag. And there we have all these things, like we have the caption element there, and we have these th elements there, and we have these tdelete elements and so on. And for instance, for each td element, the method sets the onClick operation, and it also sets different kinds of IDs for some of these table elements. So you have to, when you study this page, you have to understand that this returns the table, but you don't necessarily have to understand all the things that is happening here in this method. So that this method now toTableElement, it automatically now creates the calendar that corresponds to these two values, or to the values of these two data fields. And in this operation we are using class date, which is a standard class, and we are also using some methods like this, so that and these are now the extra methods that are in this special JavaScript file that you saw earlier. So it starts creating HTML code like this, and always it adds something with this plus. So this operation, we always add more text to the table element. And we set, for some elements we set these IDs like the week number, or we can set the ID day of previous month. And for every element we also put this onClick operation and so on. And also this identifies, when this table element is created, the program identifies that when it is, if the current day belongs to this month, so then the current day gets this ID current day. So it's quite a long method, this, but most important is that you understand what this method does. You don't need to understand all the details how it is done. So in this HTML part we have then these buttons, two buttons, so they are created here, and so there are two methods mentioned here, show previous month calendar and show next month calendar. And to get these two, because we are now using the text on these buttons are now these special characters, and they have to be specified like this in HTML. So let's take a look at these two methods then. So there's this so previous month. So what we are doing here then, that we are using this method decrement month. So we decrement first the month of this object, but then we have to recreate the content of this div. So we again we have to use this method to table element, and again we have to refer to this div for the calendar, and then we write the table element there. And if we want to see this next month calendar, we do the same thing, except that we just first use the increment month method. And then again we get the calendar as a table element, and then we refer to the div for calendar, and then we set the inner HTML of that div as a table element. So there is actually some repetition. So these statements, I think they are the same in all these three methods. So it might be possible to simplify this by making one more function here, but now it is like this. There's one more function here, calendar day clicked, but that doesn't really do anything. But it is so that the table, when the table is created, so for each day cell there is also this on click specified that the calendar day clicked, and we can see that for instance, if I click here one day, you can see that it prints the day value to the console window, but we are not using that information for anything. So, but we have this feature here that when you do exercises, or if you want to improve this page somehow, you could put something interesting here. So this is basically the content of this file, and so the key for this or the most important operation or the function in this page is this to table element, and that can really, by using the standard date methods and these additional date methods, you can create this calendar. And this is possible because our calendar is built into these methods of class standard class date. But we could still do one more experiment here, so that we could see how the inheritance works in JavaScript. So at the end of this file, I have two files in comments. So I have, for instance, I have this Spanish calendar class here, So let's do so that I will copy this Spanish calendar class like this. I can cut it from there, and then I can put it after the normal English calendar class. So I will paste it here. And so you can see that when we do inheritance in JavaScript, we use this keyword extends. So now this new class, Spanish calendar, is a subclass of English calendar, or it extends the English calendar. And again, we have a new constructor here. And with this statement, we call the superclass constructor, and we pass these two parameters that are given to it. We pass it to the superclass. But what we do here is that we now adjust these two data fields, names of months and week description. We initialize them with the Spanish names of months and Spanish week description. So this way we can and these two data fields, they are now used by this method that creates the table. So when we do this, then this method would automatically then use Spanish names for months and for the days of week. So we could try to test it. It should work if we just change this to Spanish calendar. So I will save it and I will reload it. And now you can see that the texts changed. So we have here Spanish month name and Spanish names for days of week, and it works like before. So this is now, I think, everything about this month calendar. So we studied what the class named English calendar looks like, and we studied the table elements, and we also studied the styling of table elements, and we made an experiment in which we made a subclass in JavaScript. So thank you for watching, and bye.